welcome back, welcome back. This is the final part. This is D3. And for D3, we need to optimize a prototype IoT system or device to solve a problem as intended and that meets the client's requirements, demonstrating individual responsibility and effective self-management. I think we can leave all of this part out because we've done all of this in previous sections and we've detailed client requirements multiple times. For example, in the previous section, D2, we came back to the requirements again. We said what was done, what was not done. We said how it was done. We've done all of this, right? The last thing that we need to do, in my opinion, is to demonstrate individual responsibility. So hopefully, at the beginning of this series, I gave you guys a video that talked about project management. This is what I believe needs to be done for this section. So it says demonstrate individual responsibility and effective self-management. Let me just go through my bullet points and give context where possible. The original requirements were, so you make a list of what they were. Again, I know we keep going over this again and again and again. What was done, what was not done, why were things not done? This is the main section here. Even though we're revisiting these two sections here, the main thing we need to try and explain here is why was this not done. So for example, I actually didn't do the last part of mine because I'm really tired and I need to just get this done quickly. I didn't do the switch. However, I do have other videos on YouTube which show you how to use a switch, how to make use of a switch, so you guys can go and figure it out. If I didn't get a feature completed fully, I could say why I didn't get it to work. For example, if I didn't get the email to work, but I got the text message to work, I could say the library I was using was X or Y. Whatever the reason was why you couldn't get a particular feature working, say that, and that's perfectly okay. That's what that first part is going to be about. Now it says on here, I say show Gantt chart or time plan. These could be whatever you decided to be. A Gantt chart or a time plan is fine. Now, did you follow it? More than likely, it's going to be no, I did not follow it because things popped up you weren't expecting. You don't know how to use the software properly. You don't know how to program properly. So maybe you said it's going to only take me, I don't know, 4 hours to develop the entire system, but it actually took you 8 hours or 10 hours. That's perfectly fine. I said, if not, say what was changed and why it was changed. So if you mention, as I just said, you're going to use X hours to finish something, however, it took you X times 2, so twice as much time to finish that same task, say why. And this can be for multiple things. This is why I said to you, go back to your Gantt chart. Let's see if I still have mine somewhere. Let me scroll all the way up here. Bear with me 1 second. Project management here. Okay, I thought I had a Gantt chart in here, but I guess I don't. But the Gantt chart that I told you guys to create, I think I did a video showing you how to create a Gantt chart. That same Gantt chart that you created, pull things out of there and say, did you follow this time? Did you follow this task even? And then did you follow this task time? And then finally, the final section is what went well. So mention that, oh, I got most of the features working, the button works, the switch works, the motion sensor works, it sends the email, it sends this, it sends that. So you're kind of listing out the requirements you got working again. My time management wasn't the greatest, but I improved it, or it was amazing. I was on time for everything because I used YouTube to help me. I used ChatGPT to help me, and everything was just working perfectly fine. What did not go well? My time management. This is the first time I'm programming anything. I thought I had more time than I did. Whatever the thing is that you can find that did not go so well for you, maybe you found it very, very hard to understand Python because it's the first time you're programming, and that's perfectly okay. This part I actually didn't remember was on the assignment brief, so I just copied it over. And this is what you needed to essentially do for D3. It says provide evidence that you have demonstrated effective self-management, for example, by planning your time effectively. This essentially is the Gantt chart. So let's separate these ideas. So that's the Gantt chart stuff right there. And then it says, and taking individual responsibility, for example, by dealing with problems you encountered while working on this assignment. Now, this is why I said to you guys, have a log book, right? Have a log book that says what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the outcome of that. I think I said outcome. This is where you would put that stuff. So please, you don't need to put the logbook in here. I would ideally have the logbook in one of the sections where you're actually doing the development. Have the logbook there, but just be sure to say, for example, dealing with any problems you encountered. So when I wrote the program the first time, it didn't run. I didn't know what was happening. Then I realized, for example, let me open Thunny quickly. Let me plug in my Raspberry Pi. Just bear with me 1 second. All right. So when I wrote my program, Hello World, it didn't work the first time, but guess what? Funny starts in local Python first. And if I try to flash the LEDs in this version of Python, it won't work because this is a normal version of Python. I didn't know that I had to change from local Python 3, the normal version, to the MicroPython version, which is on the Raspberry Pi. Once I did that, my program worked perfectly okay. Whatever issues you encountered throughout this thing, you mention it in the logbook at each stage, every individual thing you test, that's perfectly fine. Another one could be for the Raspberry. Oh, this is what happened to me actually. For the Raspberry Pi Pico and the motion sensor, I hadn't used the motion sensor in years and years and years, and I didn't remember which pin was the ground pin, which pin was the power pin, but I knew the middle was data, right? So I mixed them up at first, tried to run the program, wasn't getting the results I was expecting, nothing was working. Then I went back, looked at the data sheet, double checked everything, found out that I swapped them the wrong way around. So once I fixed that, everything worked perfectly fine. Again, any single issues that you come across, you mention them in the logbook. You can mention them here as well if you really, really, really want to. But keeping a logbook automatically covers this section. Even though the logbook would have come before this, it still satisfies this criteria because you have dealt with problems you encountered while working on the assignment. And then finally, we're going to put what could have been, what could be improved, or what would you add later on. This is normally the last section you do. So, what would you improve? Time management. I would improve my programming skills before I started. I would make sure that I make a better plan before I started because I was of the assumption that I can simply jump in and start programming straight away. I would sit down and make a better plan for my pseudocode or flowchart, for my circuit design, whatever the reasons are. This is where you state it.